Our customers are enterprise, and they have real-life problems that have to be solved. And if that means diverging the design from what a proper blockchain might be, then that's what you have to do in order to solve for those constraints.
Companies and governments created their own closed blockchains, distributed only within their network of choice. A far cry from the disruptive, decentralized ambitions of Bitcoin.
If I was to compartmentalize the various elements of the community, you have the original libertarian blockchain community, whose like basic deal is that like capitalism isn't working properly. We must create true capitalism, like true hyper-capitalism. Then there's like the corporate capitalism crew, which is like all the corporations that are using it. So like that's the corporate blockchain community saying, well, we could do stuff with this. Then there's like an anti-capitalist blockchain community, which is very small, who are very like anti-market and who believe that they can use blockchain technology for enabling solidarity and stuff. There's increasingly like differences emerging on what the actual end goal of this is. It's quite diverse right now, I'd say.
This is a tool, it's not magic. It can be used to do harm. You can use these systems, these identity or reputational systems, you can use them to create totalitarian systems, to create a big brother. So we have to be very careful how we use these tools. So they are enablers of a more free and inclusive society, and they don't become tools of oppression.
Blockchain is not about revolution. Blockchain is about evolution. It's the next evolution of human organization. We have this new way to organize and experiment with human organization, experiment with governance of humans and of funds. We have the internet, and yet our governance hasn't changed in hundreds of years. Now anyone can create their own governance method. They can just build it on a blockchain. They don't have to ask permission. They can innovate like that. These experiments, maybe they work out, maybe they suck, but we're going to start playing with it a lot in the next 10 years, and we're going to see what actually can work out. And I guarantee some form of governance using blockchain technology is going to be 10 times better than what we do today in our normal governance situation.
The whole human race is moving from the physical world slowly into the virtual world.
The software that we make is going to be software that underpins the foundations of society.
Technology has been primarily focused on replacing human effort. Now they're starting to replace human brains.
The only way we're going to get the best future and evolution for humanity is if we increase human intelligence.
Asia Tonight, the day's top stories and their impact on the region.
Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un are on their way.
He's been charged with money laundering.
We put ourselves into a position of strength.
With in-depth analysis and reporting from Asia's most extensive network of correspondents.
India are launching airstrikes against...
Residents want the base off Okinawa.
Delivering the stories that matter most. Asia Tonight, weeknights on CNA.
You have a weakness, I think. You have an addiction.
What? This might be the most difficult thing we've tried yet.
For the next 3 days, after 9 p.m., no phone.
As we disconnect from our devices...
whoa.
It was very hard, and I don't even know why.
To reconnect with ourselves.
You kind of realize what a crutch it is, almost.
There is a world away from the screen.
Rishi and Charles try digital detox.
Monday on CNA.
Asia Tonight, the number of people at risk from rising sea levels are far higher than previously feared. A new climate study says 300 million people will be affected in just 30 years, most of them in Asia.
Despite protests and attacks, India will formally split the state of Jammu and Kashmir into 2 territories under direct rule from New Delhi.
Global trade tensions impact Singapore, with the central bank predicting economic growth at under 1%. Hello, I'm Glenda Chong.
And I'm Steve Lai, and in business news this evening, India's Indigo orders over 300 new Airbus aircraft, but also faces the threat of some planes being grounded.
And we're tracking the top news stories across Asia. On tonight's show, Tung No explains what drives young Vietnamese to make dangerous and illegal journeys to the United Kingdom, while Lynette Lim has more on why auto giants are still betting big on China's electric coastal flooding in just 3 decades as sea levels rise. That's the bleak assessment from a new study by US-based climate organization Climate Central. They say previous numbers were far too optimistic, and the bulk of those at risk live here in Asia. Scientists have used artificial intelligence to calculate land elevation more accurately, and this allows them to take another look at the number of people who live close to sea level. And even with sharp cuts in carbon emissions, they've found 300 million people are living on land that is likely to flood once a year by the year 2050. Earlier estimates had put the number at about 80 million. And more than 2/3 of those at risk live in China, India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Thailand. Major cities at risk include Ho Chi Minh City, Mumbai, and Shanghai. Governments are being urged to help residents adapt to the new reality. Recommended measures include constructing levees or other defenses and relocating people to higher ground. Well, what more can cities in Asia do to mitigate the risk? Well, we'll find out a little later here on Asia Tonight. Elsewhere now, India will formally split the disputed state of Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow, months after withdrawing the region's autonomy. So the state will be divided into 2 territories, one consisting of Jammu and Kashmir, and the other the remote Buddhist enclave of Ladakh. Both territories will be directly ruled from New Delhi. Analysts say the move is aimed at tightening the government's control of Kashmir, which is also claimed by Pakistan.
Ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced these moves in August, thousands of troops have poured into the Kashmir Valley, where separatist troops have been fighting against Indian rule for decades. Hundreds of people have been arrested, and the government also imposed restrictions on travel and cut telephone and internet lines.
The recent deaths of 39 people inside a truck near London is a stark reminder of the risks migrants face in search of a better life. British police initially thought the victims were Chinese nationals, but many Vietnamese families had expressed fears that their loved ones were among the dead. CNA's Tung No heads into Vietnam's people smuggling heartland to find out why many are eager to work in the United Kingdom.
300 kilometers from Vietnam's capital Hanoi, Central Nghệ An province used to be one of the country's poorest regions. Thanks to remittances sent by Vietnamese working overseas, life is slowly improving, although not for everybody. Hoàng Hữu Bốn has been a fisherman for more than 30 years, but he does not want his 3 children to follow his footsteps.